We do not truly know what another person is going through, especially when it's something that society is uncomfortable with. Your friend or work colleague could be suffering in an abusive marriage. They may be struggling with finances or have challenges with their children, but they are all smiles and conceal what is really going on. Maybe because they do not know how to ask for help or they are worried what people might think about them. I want to highlight that there are ways out there. There are ways to get help and get support. We just need to look for it and find the right person who can support us. I am delighted to introduce my guest today. It is Naila Shabeer, a professional trainer, coach, and someone who has overcome. She has a mission to help people who may be going through challenging experiences. Born and raised in Dubai, she has grown as Dubai has grown. Welcome, Naila.
Thank you so much, Monica, for inviting me.
So, Naila, we met at a networking event and we hit it off straight away.
Yes, we did.
And there's something so infectious about your energy, your attitude towards life, and just your passion for who you are and what you've become. And for me, that's so inspiring.
I think that is something similar that I noticed in you as well, Monica. I mean, that's the reason I think we hit it off, because I could see the same amount of energy and passion for everything that you do. So,
Aw,
yeah, it was wonderful.
thank you. Thanks so much. So Naila, when we got to Naila, when we got to know each other, we opened up about our lives and shared our experiences. And when you told me about your backstory, what you've gone through, and where you are today, it really showed me that we do have the potential to overcome those challenges in life, and that no matter how bad we think something is within us, if we really want it to change, we can. So the audience must be wondering, what are we talking about? So I want to go straight into it, and I want you to talk a little bit about the backstory. What you went through and how that impacted you in your life.
Um, all right, so you've already mentioned born and raised in Dubai. So, Dubai has been home for me always. Coming from an Indian background, so I was raised by Indian parents and I've lived here all my life. Initially, obviously, a beautiful little family. I have an elder brother, so it was just the four of us, and a little small Indian Muslim conservative family. That's exactly how we were. And then in the year 2009, that's when I fell in love. And it was the most beautiful feeling ever. I was young, of course, and I'm still young, but then I was young at heart and young at everything. So I was like, all right, let's get into the marriage thing. Obviously, again in India, I'm sure many people relate to that as well. So I'm from the south of India, and he was from the north of India. So it was a little difficult initially, but then obviously both the families agreed and everything, and then we got married. I mean, it was a love marriage, but from day one, for some reason, there were red flags which everyone around me could see, but I couldn't. And I think it was just me being blind in love and just that. So we got married in the year 2009. In 2010, I got to know I was pregnant. And obviously, that was something that was like, yes, it's the most beautiful feeling. And yes, it was a very beautiful feeling. But I could see that the marriage was not going anywhere. Like there were regular, fights and arguments, and then the families got involved, and all of that was happening. And I was really worried, like, how am I going to go through this pregnancy? So this was the year 2010, and then my son was born right up till 2018, so which was 9 years down the line. It was a marriage that was filled with abuse. There was physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, you name it, and it was there. Now, the thing again, coming from a conservative family, the concept is that your parents always tell you that it's fine, compromise, sacrifice. You are a woman at the end of the day, and do it for the sake of your son. So, this is the common stereotypical things that I was hearing from everywhere. And that's exactly what I did for 9 years, thinking that things will change and, he might change because, I mean, as my son's growing up, the situation might change, the circumstances might change, and all of that. But it clearly didn't look like it was happening. 9 years down the line, in 2018, was when I decided to take a stand and had the conversation, and then we separated. So that is my story in short, from 2009 to 2018.
Whoa. So that's quite heavy. So Naila, like, what was that tipping point for you when you had that revelation that I'm in an abusive marriage?
This was, again, as I said, from day one, there were red flags. And then there was this particular incident when I was pregnant. This happened again in Dubai itself, wherein when I had, so basically, again, I had to take permission from my ex, now who's my ex, to even visit my parents. And for him, it was like, no, you don't have to see them. Why do you have to? And I remember I was 4 months pregnant. So he didn't allow me to go. And then he created a huge scene about it. And there was physical abuse involved. And I was pregnant. I was in Gises, in the middle of the road, wherein he started hitting me and he raised his hand on me. And for me, it was like, oh my God, I am pregnant. That's the first thing. And secondly, there are people around and everyone's seeing this. So what's happening? Like, I just zoned out. And I think that was the moment when I was like, oh my God, I have seen this in movies and stories and films. And as I said, coming from a small little happy family and then do something like this, it was like, no, I don't think I can do this. And this is not something I should be going through. So, but as I said, I was 4 months pregnant. And the first thing again I did was I reached out to my parents as usual. I did not get the help and support that I was expecting from the other side. So I think that was the point when I was like, that's it. Whatever I have to do alone. That's it. Yeah.
You talk about coming from India, Indian family, traditional conservative, and obviously we're both from Indian subcontinent. And there's this whole other layer that our society places upon us. And you just said that you didn't get the help and the support you wanted. Like, how does that make Naila feel when you've reached out for help and you haven't got it?
Helpless, completely helpless. And also because, as I said, we were a typical happy family. Like, I've never seen my parents fighting. I've never seen my brother and his wife fighting. So for me to come from that family, you expect again that, okay, there will be help and support if I, pick up the phone and tell them that I was abused. When it didn't happen, I felt completely helpless. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. I'm not getting the support that I was expecting. And again, people always say this. I mean, when a girl's getting married and she's going off to her husband's home, there's this whole crying thing and everything happens. And whenever you want, please give us a call. We're always there for you and all of that. Like, we are not, throwing you out of our household and all of that. But it didn't look like that was happening. So that was the first point where I was like, okay, Naila, you have to take a stand yourself because it clearly looks like nobody wants to support you. So yeah, that was very, very helpless. That's how I felt.
And then what happened next? So you reach out for help. You've had this experience of being physically hit while you're pregnant. What happens in the time to follow?
And the thing is, I remember it so vividly because it was a very, very big moment that happened in my journey. The next day in the morning, I remember, and obviously I had to go to work. I was working. So I woke up and apparently everybody was normal, like nothing happened. It's normal. And the comments that I got to hear from his side of the family was, it's fine. I mean, so what? And yeah, he raised his hands. We all have been raised like this. It's not a big deal. Move on. That's it. And like it was the feeling was that I am on one side of the world and all of them are on the other side. And I'm like, are you even listening to yourselves? Like, you're telling me it's okay and move on. How am I supposed to do that? But I did. I mean, that's what I did after that. I went to work the next day, acting like everything was normal. Deep inside, I'm still questioning my, my choices and what am I doing? And I'm pregnant and is it okay for me to go ahead with the baby? There was so many questions that were happening inside, but outside, obviously, I have to work and, I have to show a happy face outside. So that happened. And immediately after that, I started blaming myself. For me, I think it was, okay, maybe I am the problem. Maybe it's because of me that whole scene was created. I should have just kept quiet and sat at home and not gone to visit my parents, something. And I think it happens after a point wherein you start thinking you are at fault. And that is what I think I lived with for the next couple of years, literally. Even when my son was born, and even after that, for a long period of time, I was like, I am at fault. I have to make the changes because that's what my parents told. You make the changes, you sacrifice, you compromise. He has a temper. So, deal with him the way he wants to be. Whatever he says, listen to him, all of that. So, yeah, after a point, I just started blaming myself.
It's really interesting you say that because, in my reading about people who have gone through any kind of abuse or any kind of bullying, they feel that it's their fault, that they've triggered it. And it actually stops a lot of women from leaving a marriage because they think that they deserve it because someone's done that, or they've done something wrong and that's why it's justified. So how do you think we can change like society's views on domestic abuse and then how we view our own experiences?
So again, because I've gone through this and I have overcome it, what I did again was that obviously when your parents tell you that change, make the change, try, it's not wrong to try, but there's always a limit. There is a limit to how much you can try. And in that journey, you don't lose yourself. So as a woman, you have an identity. You have a say. Especially nowadays, almost everyone is educated. They are literate enough. There is a lot of, social media. If you use it in the good way, there is so much that you can learn out of it. So there is so much that a woman independently can do, which, like, all of that should not be burdened by parents or society or anything. So the feeling or the concept that I usually go and talk to people about is that look for your passion, look for the things that give you joy as a woman. And then the questions that usually come out is, I don't know what gives me passion. I don't know what gives me joy. For me, I'm cooking for my husband. I'm taking care of him. I take care of my children. That usually the women I speak to, this is exactly what they say. My husband's happy, so I'm happy. What about your own happiness? So that's the thing, like, especially coming from that Indian society, I think it's important for women to realize that you can find your passion as well. You can find things in which you get joy apart from cooking for your husband and taking care of children. Again, that's not wrong. If that is giving you joy, it's good. Yeah. But there is your identity, which you need to find what it is and find the passion and the joy in that as well.
No, that's so true. I'm a part of Asian Women Mean Business. It's run by a lady in the UK called Rupinder Kaur. And her whole ethos is to empower South Asian women, regardless of your religion or your race or your background or any of those things. It's like empowering women, and like self-love is so important.
Yes.
And the things you've spoken about, you've said, what's my passion? Spend time with these women to ignite that within them. Like, how important is self-love in our lives?
So yesterday was Valentine's Day, and can I say that?
Yeah.
Because I don't know when it's going to be. Okay, sorry. All right. So on Valentine's Day,
Say it again. Say yesterday was Valentine's Day.
Okay. So yesterday was Valentine's Day, and the first post that I put out yesterday on all the social media platforms was about self-love. So people obviously think or consider Valentine's Day to be obviously, me and my husband, my partner, all of that. But the post that I had written was specifically about, yes, love for parents, love for grandparents, love for children, love for siblings, love for spouse, partner, love for dogs, cats, all of that. But in that list of love, the first love that you should always prioritize is self-love. Because if you are not able to love yourself, you can in no way provide love to others. And there is a quote that I read as well, and I've posted that on the article as well. Remember to love yourself as much as you love the people that you love. So that's a very important part. And that is, like, when I said 2009 to 2018, my entire story, 2018 was when I even understood the concept of self-love. Like, there is something called self-love, and there is something like I can start prioritizing myself and thinking about things that make me happy before I can think of making my husband or my children happy. So
No, absolutely. We can't pour from an empty cup,
Hmm.
and if we're not fill, we can't pour from an empty cup, and if we're not full of love for ourselves, then how can we give that love to someone
Exactly.
else?
Yeah.
And it goes back to when you're on a plane and when the mask comes out, there's an emergency situation. Why does the safety video
Yes.
say get your mask on
Yeah.
first before you help anyone else? Because we are worthy. We're here for a certain life that we're going to live, and loving ourselves is so essential to that life that we have. Thanks for sharing that. I feel so warm deep in within my heart now after that. So Naila, I don't want to hear about every single. So Naila, without going into the step by step of everything that happened, what was that one event that happened that made you take this strong stand to break free from your experience?
This was specifically April of 2018 when, so I was living in Dubai. I was living with my ex and my son in Dubai, and I was working in Abu Dhabi. So I had to do the commute every day. Early in the morning, 5 o'clock, I leave. I come late in the night. There were days I didn't even see my son because he used to be sleeping in the morning and when I was coming back in the evening. So this was April 2018 when there was a big wedding in the family. And again, like always, I had to ask permission from my ex. And I went and I was like, I really need to go for this. And there was no reason for him to say no. And previously as well, I was not allowed to go for events or weddings or anything from my family side. So that was the day I remember I had a conversation with him. It wasn't a fight, it wasn't an argument or anything. I told him that I will be packing my bags. I am taking a flight and I am taking our son and I'm flying. Do you think it's okay? He said, No, I don't think you should go. Then I said, You can come along if you want. So he said, No, I don't feel like coming. So I said, All right, fine. I have decided that I am going to do this. And it's a very important wedding in the family. And I have to attend it. And I will be leaving. For him, I think it was like, Oh my God, like she's taking a stand and she's doing all of this herself. How is this even possible? So when I saw that expression on his face, I realized that, okay, I think this is the time when I can make a decision and I can be stern about it. And just by having an assertive conversation, I can change his behavior and moods and everything towards me. So again, I don't know how I got that courage to do that because otherwise I always knew that either he would raise his hand or, shout or something like that. But nothing happened. And I think that was the moment when I realized that it's again everything to do with emotional intelligence. It's the way you react, you understand the other person's emotions as well, and then you react based on that. And I think from that day, so that was April 2018 until September when we separated, every time we didn't have a fight or an argument, it was always a conversation wherein I used to tell him exactly what I feel and what I want to do. And he, for some reason, did not have a counter argument or anything to do. And then he realized that how is it that she has changed her personality so much that I'm not able to argue or, there's no room for argument after that. And that was, I think, the feeling of liberation for me, like making changes within myself to understand that I can regulate his emotions and his moods towards me in the way I communicate with him. So that was definitely the point when I felt like, oh, that it is a possibility. And I think it also helped because I was working with this lady. She's my ex boss. Now she's my ex boss. Who is a British lady. Her name is Sarah, and I always look up to her. She's like my mentor. So she had introduced me to the coaching side of things. So I started reading a lot of books on coaching, on Brené Brown and Simon Sinek and all of that. So I think reading all of those books as well helped me to make those changes in my personality, which again also I think helped with what my parents said, that you have to make the changes and you have to. And I felt that I'm making the changes, but I'm making the changes positively for myself rather than expecting him to change and all of that. I was making the changes in order to get the changes that I was expecting from him. So yeah, that was the point in 2018 when this
So,
happened.
so you went on this personal development journey, and how important is personal development to you in? as an individual?
A lot. It is very important. And for me, again, I have been a trainer for 22 years of my life. So in the learning and development space, uh, I feel every day there is something you can learn out of all the experiences that you have in life. And this is especially for the women, again, who are, at home. They are homemakers, and they will always have this thing about, but where will I learn? My job is to take care of my family and just cook for them, and that's it. But it's not like that. Like every day, there is something that you can learn with your personal experiences. People, obviously, who go out there and who enjoy reading, they can read books. There is so much, again, social media, again, even TikTok and Instagram and stuff. There is so much educational content that you can go through. Again, it's about finding your joy. Like, what is the topic that you're interested in? So I talk a lot about emotional intelligence. I talk about resilience, especially after the pandemic, when everybody was locked down and suddenly everybody had to just bounce back. So strength, courage, resilience, like these are the topics. If there is any of these topics that you're interested in, start reading about it, because reading obviously opens up everything in your brains. When you start doing that, you start attracting the right kind of people as well. This is something I realized also. So when I was going through this personal development journey of mine in the year 2018, that is when I started meeting the right kind of people. And for some, it was miraculous. Like people would just come and, come, let's have coffee together. And then when we start having a conversation, I realized that we have so much in common in terms of interests and passions and goals and all of that. So learning never stops. For me, again, every time I stand in front of a training room, this is something that I always share, that I learn from you, the audience. And obviously, it will make a very big, I will feel very happy and satisfied if there is even one thing that has impacted you in the session today. So I learn a lot from the audience, and they obviously learn from me as a trainer as well. So I feel that learning is something that you have to do every day. Personal development is very important, be it you're a homemaker, be it you're going out to work, be it you're just doing nothing in life if you're single, or even if you're married, or in a relationship, or whatever it is. Regardless, it's important that you always develop yourself. Even doing short bites of learning, maybe watching a video, learning something, sharing it with someone, all of that forms part of personal development. So yeah, very, very important.
I completely agree. Similar to you, I'm very passionate about personal development as well. And I think in every book you pick up and you read, there's so much to learn, even if there is that one golden nugget.
Yeah.
And even in coaching sessions, like one of the questions that in my coaching sessions when we ask clients at the end is that, what was that one golden nugget from today's session? Because everyone has something,
Yes.
and that's so powerful. And you're right, it doesn't matter what you do as a profession or what your role is in society. Like, there's so much out there, and we're in an information world now, so everything's there at our fingertips. It's just picking what's relevant and useful versus what isn't. So tell us more about the coaching you do, and like what are your passions in the coaching space?
So coaching was something also that was introduced to me by Sarah. So Sarah is an inspirational leader. She always asked the right kind of questions, and she always waited for us to give the answers. So this was the initial years when she had joined us. It was in 2019. She was with us for 3 months, and in those 3 months, all of us, so me and the rest of our team, we realized that she has a very different style compared to all the other leaders that we have worked with. So every time we would have a one-on-one with her, she would always start with, so what are your thoughts about this? And what feedback do you have for me? Like when she asked this question, we were like, she's my boss and she's asking me for feedback? Like that was something that was completely different from, the corporate world that I have been in. So through conversations was when, she said that I think this is a field that maybe you should take an interest in. That is coaching. So she introduced me to a few books again, and she sent me a few TED Talks on coaching and all of that. And she's like, just go through this and see how you feel about it. And it's a huge world. Like coaching is a huge world out there. And that's when my passion and interest for coaching, this was in 2019, it all started. And then last year, 2022, was when she left us and she joined another organization. And I think till then, the feeling like when you have a safety net and you're like, oh, okay, Sarah's there, Sarah's there, Sarah's there. And I was like, okay, maybe, this is not the time. I need to still research on what coaching is before I actually get into it. In 2022, when she left, that was again, I think, the feeling, oh my God, she's leaving now. So what am I going to do? And again, she was the one who we had the conversation. And then she told me, like, why don't you go ahead and get a certification yourself? And I was like, oh, you think I can do this? She's like, yeah, Naila, I think you're ready. Try it. It's fine. And again, it's not easy. There is a lot of work that goes into it. So you have to keep yourself free after working hours, all of that. So I was like, all right, let me take it up as a challenge. And then last year, that's 2023 in April, was when I went and I started my research on what's the best way to go about it, what's the best certification out there, how is it going to help me, and all of that. So April 2023 was when I started. I went bang into it. And I am a kind of person who loves obviously reading about things. But if I commit to something, I want to achieve the best of it. So I got into it April 2023, and it was long hours, the normal office hours. And then I used to come home and then do my recordings and the coaching and the hours, all of that. Again, there were days when, my son was like, yeah, Mama, you're always busy, and, all of that. And then what I did was, again, used him as well. Like I used to involve him in everything that I was doing with coaching. So anything new, I used to read and learn about it. I used to go and share it with him. And there was a video recording I've done with him as well on the whole thing. I started using coaching methodologies on him. So if he's had a problem or something at school, and then previously Naila would be like, oh, why did you do this? All of that. Now there was a shift, and he realized that as well. So things like, how could you have done it differently? And, if there was a chance for you to change the way you've handled this, how would you do it? So I started doing that as well. And then I felt a huge shift, and there was a huge transformation in my life as this was going on. So this was in 2023. By September 2023 was when I completed my entire coaching thing, and I got the coaching certification. And the feeling was obviously, again, wonderful, because I felt transformed. Like, that is exactly the word I would use, because there was so many things that I had prepared on my vision board, and I had made outcomes and goals and all of that. And I could see all of them were being achieved one by one. And that, I would say, was definitely because of coaching and the way I changed my mindset and style of asking questions and getting the solutions to problems and all of that. So, yeah, that is beautiful. I love coaching, everything about coaching.
Well, that's amazing. So I'm the co-founder of Reach Outstanding, and we have an ICF accredited program. So the students that have gone through the journey of the last 3 years with us, they say the exact same thing.
Nice.
Because you transform your clients. When you become a coach, you transform yourself to another level.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to hear you say the same thing, because that personal transformation journey is so big. Until we go in it, we'll never really
Exactly.
understand that. You talked about vision boards, you talked about goal setting. How important are those things for us in our lives? That we've got listeners out there maybe driving on Sheikh Zayed Road or on a UK motorway, or in the US on the highway, and they might be listening to us right now. So what's the power of goal setting, vision boarding, laws of attraction?
Positive psychology. So this was something also that I started reading about in my journey, and all of that related to everything that we spoke about. So the law of attraction, manifestation, visualization, creating a vision board, goal setting. Throughout my coaching journey, when I was studying to become a coach, that's when there were a lot of exercises and activities that I had to go through myself. And all of it involved a lot of writing and self-reflection, and then putting it on a paper. And the power of writing, using a pen or a pencil and writing it on a book, I never realized that previously. And obviously everyone's getting into the digital world now, so people usually, like typing on the phone or the laptop or something. But the power that a pen and a book has is way more than what it is when you're just typing it out. So the thing was that so vision boards. So I did my first vision board while I was going through my coaching journey. In the vision board, again, like there was the time when I remember it was just blank. And I'm thinking, oh, obviously I want $1 million and I want, everything that everybody wants. But I was like, let me focus on things I really am aspiring to get. And I started putting down pictures. I started visualizing it. I created the whole board in my goal setting outcomes activity as well. So there were outcomes that I wanted to achieve in 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years. So the 1 year one, I knew that I had to start making an effort in order to achieve those. The 3 years one, I was like, oh yeah, there is time. But should I start working on them now itself? And then the 5 years one, again, the feeling of, oh, this time. But is it the 1 year and the 3 year that's going to impact my 5 year as well? So when I started doing those activities, that's when I realized that there is a lot of effort and hard work that is required once you set those goals. And as I said, the power of a pen and a book is you start writing those goals. Obviously, your brain is thinking. And the goals that you put down there, while you're writing it, the brain already starts thinking of ways on how to achieve it. And that is the power of goal setting. That is the power of having a vision board. I had a copy of the vision board on my phone as a wallpaper. I've kept it in my just next to my makeup table, all of that. So as I was looking at it every day, I remember I used to get dreams also of the same thing, the pictures and everything that I'd put on my vision board. So that happened so through my personal development and everything that I started from 2019, 2020, 2021, 23, when I did the coaching thing, I could see that most of the goals and everything that I've put on the vision board, slowly they were coming true. There were most of the things that I had written in my 1 year outcomes in 2023, which I did achieve before the end of 2023. And once that was happening and I started ticking it off, and I'm like, oh my God, this is so powerful. I never realized that the power of visualization, the power of, the laws of attraction, as we call it, is so strong that it is possible. Even if you feel that, oh my God, this is unachievable, I can never do this. There is a possibility, and there's always hope that yes, it is definitely possible once you start making those right efforts. So yeah.
Absolutely. And like people think, oh, it could never happen. It could never happen. Try, like your
Yes.
evidence of it, right? And there's so many amazing people out there that they talk so much about our mindset, our vision boarding, our goals, like everything. If it just stays in our head and we don't do anything about it, then it is just a dream.
Yeah.
But it's when we put things down on paper, when we start taking those actions, then mountains will move for us. When we're ready to take that step and be consistent and all of those kinds of things. So Naila, like you've talked about this journey, the pain and the challenges that you went through. You talked about this beautiful transformation that you went through. And there might be someone out there kind of listening to this and, like we're all human beings at the end of the day. Like, how do we get through those tough times? Tough is like, it's relative. Like you went through something and there might be someone else that's going through something similar, but they've endured it for 30 years as an example. So what would you want to say to people like that out there and how to deal with those tough times?
I'm sure many of the listeners must have heard of the saying, this too shall pass. And that was something that I stuck on with all those years that I've endured the pain and everything. The feeling of there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope. And this comes from within me as an individual. And plus everything, I mean, even if the society tells you as a woman, you cannot do this. But I always had this thing like, no, there is hope. There is definitely hope. And I believed in myself. I believed in my talents. I knew that I am capable enough and I am deserving of love. I think, again, going back to the self-love concept, when I did the whole exercise of putting myself first, prioritizing myself, that's when I think I started getting the feeling also that, sorry, I don't know where I went. Okay, where did I stop? Again, sorry, question.
If there's someone out there going through a challenge,
tough times.
Tough times, yeah.
Where should I start from?
We can start from the beginning. It's fine. We're all right. It's okay.
Yeah. All right. So, yes. So when I went through the whole personal development thing of self-love, that's when I realized that the whole concept of this too shall pass, that I don't know what's happening again, sorry.
It's all right. Let's come back to that question. Yeah, let's just talk.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you just like about emotional intelligence, just like a couple of lines. Yeah, because obviously that's my passion. As you know, I'm really passionate about emotional intelligence. It's one of the reasons why I created this podcast, You Got This. You talked about Sarah and you talked about her style of leadership. Like, how important is emotional intelligence in today's world?
It's very important, super, super, super important. Again, this was a topic I think which became very relevant after COVID. When again the whole world is on a lockdown, there was a pandemic going on, people didn't know what was happening, people were not even sure whether the world is going to go back to normal, are we always going to be in masks, all of that. I think this topic of emotional intelligence became super important when people started realizing that there could be another person who's going through worse situations than the situation that you're in. So the whole concept of, I mean, people do talk about empathy and people putting yourself in the other person's shoes and all of that, but emotional intelligence is bigger than that. And I think that is something, if every human on planet Earth tries to or even understands a little bit of what emotional intelligence is, it will make a huge impact and a huge change in the world with everything that's happening, the wars that are happening right now, the unrest that's happening everywhere, the political issues happening everywhere. Even if a little bit of emotional intelligence, every leader around the world keeps it and uses it, it's going to be a huge, huge impact and change in the world positively.
I completely agree with that. Thanks so much. So let's fast forward to today. I believe that the challenges we go through, the suffering we go through, that at the end, things change. And you've said it, this too shall pass. So tell me about your world today. What does it mean to you, the Naila in 2024?
So Naila in 2024 is a successful coach. This was part of my goal setting. It was part of my vision board. In 2019, I remember when everything was just going downhill and I had closed myself thinking that there will never be a person that will be coming into my life. And I had closed that door completely. And I was a single mom for really long after that. And the concept again was that I am here for my son and I have to develop myself and grow, in my career and all of that because I have to provide for my son. And that was the moment when I realized I have gone for a couple of therapy sessions as well. That is something also that I think in our Indian subcontinent, usually people don't like to talk about because therapy for people is like, oh, because she has a mental issue, she's going for it. It's nothing like that. And I'm a huge advocate of therapy as well. So that's when I realized that maybe I should not close that door. And in 2020, at the end of 2020, was when I met this person. And initially, it was just like, oh, yeah, he's a colleague, and yeah, we're just working together. And it just happened organically that we started, obviously, our interests started matching, our personalities started matching. We started syncing on so many different things. We used to have these really nice, long conversations about life, about emotional intelligence, about coaching, about everything that I was passionate about. And I could see that there was a spark, but because of everything I've gone through in the past, I was very skeptical on whether that is the way to go. But again, I think after creating, my goal setting and my vision board and everything, and attracting the right kind of energy and giving out love, I did feel that yes, I think a part of me also deserves the same amount of love or even more. And putting it out there, so this person that I met organically entered into mine and my son's lives in a manner which we never expected it to happen. And Naila of 2024, yes, is a successful coach. I'm still in the learning and development space as well, so I do a lot of freelance training, and plus I am married again, And this was last year, 6 months back, basically, was when I got married to my soulmate. That's how I like to call him, because he understands me completely. He gives me the room to breathe, he gives me the space. He is very passionate about everything that I do. And we are more of, how would I say it, equal partners, rather than, because the previous relationship for me, it was asking permission, getting permission, all of that. And then now it literally feels like we both are completely in sync with each other. So whatever his passions and goals are is completely in sync with what I do. And both of us are on a journey of success together. So now it's a little family of me, my son, and my husband. So
Oh, wow,
yes.
how beautiful is that? And I love this whole kind of journey that you've talked about and like where you've got to today. You know, you would never think that you've been through this until someone you find that you trust and then you'll share it with them. And so thank you for sharing this journey. It's so honest and it's so open, and I'm privileged to have listened to this journey that you've been through, and for you to be a guest on my podcast today. It gives faith. It gives faith that we can have our happy ending, and it gives faith that we can put the work in and we can change our lives. It's having the courage to do it. It's getting into the right mindset as well, and that we can overcome. So thanks for being part of You Got This. Before we say goodbye, what one piece of advice would you give our listeners as a reminder? Thanks for being part of the You Got This podcast. Before we say goodbye, what one piece of advice would you want to give our listeners as a reminder that they can overcome?
The two words that you just mentioned, Monica, hope and faith. If everyone, all the women, especially from the South Asian community, just live by the word hope and faith. So believing in the concept of there is a happy ending for us. There is hope. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. And again, going back to this too shall pass. There is always the feeling that this is not the end. If you are going through troubled times and tough times and all of that, this is definitely not the end. Focus on your personal development. Focus on things that give you joy. Focus on things that you're passionate about, and automatically the avenues and the doors and everything will open up for you, which will eventually be the happy ending that you're looking for. So that is the only advice I would give everyone out there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. So how can people get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Yes, so I am on LinkedIn as Naila Shabeer, and I have my Instagram, which is Switch It On by Naila. So that is where they can connect with me. I regularly post on women empowerment and life coaching and how to change your mindset and all of that. So yeah, they can follow me there.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Monica.